Hey, what's up, guys? B Train here. So today I actually want to talk about a very interesting video that I always loved watching when I was like starting my studio, and that is financial breakdown. So today I really want to talk about like how much each of my game made. If you guys are new to the channel, I released two commercial games. They're both SRPGs, solo developed game, pretty low budget overall, things like that. And I want to talk about just the numbers. Like, was this viable? Am I gonna keep doing this? Like, did I lose money? So let's get into the video. So first up, based on the thumbnail you guys seen, I made $50,000 gross lifetime revenue. This is before everything though. So this is before the virtual sales tax, Steam's cut, refunds, chargeback, etc. But I made $50,000 gross, and based on the timeline, it took me about 4 years. Technically 5 years because I had to spend time to make my first game, But I'm actually quite happy with that number, $50,000. Obviously, in a lot of parts in the world, $50,000 is something you would make like in a year. But with my games, it took me like 4 years. I'm not as fast as I would like, but it's good still. So let's talk about the first game, Grey Heritage Faded Vision. This is going to be a very interesting one because this is my first game that I ever made. And keep in mind, this game has been out for over 3 years now. That does mean the number is going to be a lot more higher because it had time to cook out on Steam's page. Something really worth noting too, Faded Vision also had a publisher for Chinese and Japanese localization. So that does mean I'm going to sell more copies of it overall. Like, I just have a bigger net of people who want to play the game. So gross revenue, I made about $33,000. Keep in mind, this is like before everything. Net revenue, I made about $28,000. This is before Steam's cut. So usually when I say gross, that's not exactly what I made. I tend to look at the net and then add on Steam's cut. We'll get more to the actual number afterwards. My units sold is about 3,700 copies. Refund rate is about 9.4%. Something worth noting is that I heard that the normal refund rate is about 10%, so I'm actually quite okay with that number. My wish list currently is about 23,000 wish lists, which is pretty good. So something worth noting is that I did had a bot leak with my wish list numbers. So it's gonna look very inflated compared to like some wishes you're gonna see out there. But once I start talking about my second game, I'm gonna show you why it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. But I will be upfront and say that my wish list was about 16,000 at launch. So that is a much higher number than what you would normally see like on YouTube and stuff like that. But that is what I launched with. Okay, let's quickly talk about the budget of the game. So Faded Vision was about $7,000 budget, and just to like a quick breakdown, I spent $2,000 on art, $3,000 on writing and editing, $2,000 on music, and there's like some miscellaneous purchase there to equal to about $7,000. So Faded Vision made about $28,000 net. After Steam's cut, I made about $19,000. Now get that $19,000 subtracted by the $7,000 budget I had, and that means I had a $12,000 profit. So this means my ROI is actually 177%. That means I broke even and I made 77% of what I put into the game. I consider that very healthy for a debut SRPG. I do want to note that there's a lot of indie games out there that never broke even from launching. So I'm actually very grateful for the situation I'm in. So something worth noting is I do log my playtime hours using Steam to see how long I use SRPG Studio. And it's worth noting that this is time in the engine, is not considering time outside the engine, which probably takes a long time. But we're going to look at the playtime hours I used in the engine and kind of like judge that based on the project that I made. So Faded Vision took me about 700 hours to make. Not factoring outside time from the engine. That means I made about 1760 an hour working on the game, which that's pretty good. So in that 700 hours, Faded Vision took me 16 months to make, and I consider that performing pretty well. It almost doubled what I put in budget wise into the game. It's my debut game. It did very well. The reviews were good, and I am very happy with that debut. All right, let's talk about Grey Heritage Noble Duty. This is the game I released 5 months ago. So keep in mind that this game did not have as much time to cook compared to Fate Division, which had a 3-year time frame to make that type of money. So my gross revenue for Noble Duty is about $18,000. My net revenue is about $15,000. This means I sold about 1,200 units. Refund rate is about 10%, which is just the number that is like considered average. And currently I have 13,000 wish lists. And launch wish list is what a lot of developers want to know. And the launch wish list for Noble Duty was 11,000 wish lists. That's why I say the wish list bot leak with Fate Division, it wasn't that much different because I did launch for 16,000 with bots in that game. And then with Noble Duty, I did 11,000. And as far as I know, there was no bots involved with that. And I'd say the numbers are pretty accurate to what the game sales got. All right, now this is the part that is a bit of a con, but let's get into it. Noble Duty's budget was about $15,000. So that means I spent more than double I put in from Fate Division. And basically everything applied from Fate Division to Noble Duty, I spent about the same on art, music, etc. But the biggest thing I did put more money into was voice acting, better pixel art, combat animation, some music, and like some programming help to help me out with finishing the game. And I do want to say I don't regret the investment I made. I did spend more than double, but I am actually still very proud of the work that I put into the game. So Noble Duty took me about 2.5 years to make, but I did take a break and I kind of rounded it to about 2 years to make the game. I don't really count months where I took like a hiatus break and like did life stuff, but it took me about 2 years. And I spent 900 hours making Noble Duty. And this is based on SRPG Studio Playtime on Steam. So I did spend less hour per day to make the game, but I'm still quite happy with it. And considering how polished and just visually better Noble Duty looked compared to Fate Division, and I only spent 200 more hours in the engine just to make it, I'm actually quite happy with that. Okay, now this is the sad part of the video, but don't worry, it'll get better. So Noble Duty alone is negative $4,700. That means I spent about $15,000. I made about $10,000 back. So that means I lost almost $5,000 from it. But that's only half of the story. We're going to keep talking about why. So this is where things get interesting. Basically, in the year 2025, when I released Noble Duty, Fate Division sales actually skyrocketed. The sales was kind of dwindling, as you can see from this chart. It's like dwindling down. But then around September was when the sales started picking up. And that's just Fate Division alone. So that means Noble Duty's launch also marketed my previous game. And that did play a very big role in breaking even, right? Because I consider Fate Division sale during that launch month to be part of Noble Duty's profit. I actually didn't get the exact number of what copies Fate Division sold, but it was about like an extra half of what Noble Duty sold. So like if I made $10,000 from Noble Duty, I made like an extra $5,000 from Fate Division. I did discounted Fate Division a lot more heavily. It was about 50% off, while Noble Duty was about 15% off. So I had to sell more units to kind of make up that money back. But I consider that a break-even point. I didn't make $15,000 from that. So this is some interesting data I want to show. These are my top regions. USA was by far my number one country, the one I'm from as well. Western Europe was number 2, and Asia was 3rd place. But for a while before Noble Duty, Asia was 2nd place. And Noble Duty did not get a localization, unfortunately. Only Fate Division got translated. But that is something I am considering going forward. All right, so let's just talk about my overall thoughts on my games. Fate Division, I thought was very lean. It was very profitable at a strong ROI. I made that game like in a very reasonable time frame. I put a very reasonable budget. I made good money from it back since then. I was really glad I got a publishing deal to localize it because I do feel like my game has a very strong Asian audience. But just getting it localized is very difficult because you have to translate it, you have to QA it, you have to market it. Like that's something I don't know. So having a publisher did help me out a lot with that. And just keep in mind, I'm not going to talk about the publisher number. Like obviously that's like, me and my publishers like talk, but that's like something worth considering as well. So it's something worth noting that I do feel like if I work on a project like Faded Vision again, and like with the knowledge I have, I probably could shave off like an extra 100, 200 hours just from making the game, just because I know so much more about the engine. But in that 700 hours, let's say I make a project like that again, same scope, I could probably make it in about 500 hours, and that is something kind of worth considering as you become more experienced making video games. Okay, Noble Duty. This game had a much higher budget, almost double. But it was much more polished. I'm very happy with like what came from making that game. I actually do not have any regrets with the extra reinvestment into the game. I do have faith that it's gonna break even by itself. The game is still selling now. It might take just a little longer for it to break even solo, but with the help of my previous game, I was able to break even. My biggest regret with Noble Duty, I did not get a publisher. I wish I got it localized somehow. I kind of wish I even worked like a second part-time job just to pay off the localization for it, because I think the game would have sold really well if I did localize it somehow. I think it would cover the cost of it. Like I just needed the money and like or a publisher to help me out with that. I could have spent more time looking for a publisher to help me with localization as well. Unfortunately, I could not use my previous publisher to publish this one, but it is something I'm heavily considering going forward with my studio, because I do think I need to work on Chinese and Japanese localization with my future games. And I also just want to add that the bundle strategy played a huge role in my sales last year. When I bundled both of my game together, it was actually a pretty large percentage. There's no like actual graph to show like how much the bundle sold, but like the numbers was pretty good from what I've seen. All right, so a little bit more reflection on it. I'm very proud of both games. Faded Vision was very profitable, and it was my first game. I'm very proud as because for a first game, I think it did great. It broke even, it made profit, people liked it. I'm even like a few years later, like it's typical for artists to cringe at their old work. And don't get me wrong, I might have some of those moments too, but I do think that was a very good game that I made. And like I'm still very proud of like what younger me did making that game. Noble Duty is much more polished. I spent a lot more money. I do feel like it reflects me more of where I am today. It is also more recent, like it's about 5 months ago, but I'm very proud of that game as well. I'm very proud of both games for very different reasons, and I do not regret making any of my games. Well, that's it for me, guys. I hope you guys learned something from this video. I don't consider myself like a major success, right? Like I didn't make good money. I consider this like part-time side gig type money. I'm not quitting my job and becoming a full-time game developer yet, but I do plan on doing it in the future, which I am very looking forward to. These type of videos did make me learn a lot when I was growing, and I really hope this type of video would inspire you. If you like gain anything from this video, feel free to leave a comment, because I love like reading comments and seeing if anybody learned from my mistakes and my successes. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you guys next time.